Welcome to the Friendly Fire Show.
Episode
Mr. Black.
in the 2016 Game of the Year Christmas special and our year in review.
For Christmas and
Yeah.
and the year in review.
And being December.
And the week of, I don't know, probably the
Mr. Black.
December 2016. So looking at July, the only thing I think we should talk about is kind of back on Shane. It's Monster Hunter. Generations, I think?
Man,
Did a Monster Hunter come out this
year?
year?
I struggled. Like,
Remember
I
that?
really struggled because it's a 3DS thing. Like
Is it
they
on,
have done
Wii
stuff
U?
on Wii U.
Also?
No. The core series of Monster Hunter is a handheld game. It's the same as like, it's, you know how like Pokemon has that thing of like, we're never going to release a proper Pokemon game on a console thing
Except
because
for
it's all
Switch
about
when it will happen. But
exactly. When
When they
there's
don't have a choice.
yeah, when we can go back on that 20-year thing we said where like, you know, we had these ideals and now we've totally sold out. So yeah. But yeah, the whole idea of Monster Hunter is you go somewhere with your equally attractive friends and play
in
Monster
240p,
Hunter.
equally attractive, really.
Yeah. I just, man, I played a little bit of Monster Hunter before. I was like, oh yeah, I can do this. Clearly, I'm a cool guy. I've played Dark Souls, so I must be awesome at stuff. And this is.
Such a cool guy.
I've even played Demon Souls and Bloodborne.
Yeah, I'm shitting on myself as a joke, but there is quite a lot of similarities between this and Dark Souls for all the wrong reasons. And man, it was hard. Like it took me a long time to actually get into it, and I respected it at the end. But I don't know if I ever would say that I liked it. Like I don't know. I maybe I turned that around. Like I did, but
If that's
man,
not
it was
moving
hard,
on,
like-
that's not anything else.
if you're not already into Monster Hunter, then you don't care about Monster Hunter GH65 with an extra couple of that's Monster Hunter's that Japanese series that re-releases itself 6 times on different platforms with a new hat.
I love this part of the year because
New
it's
hat.
So what else is there?
this part of the year is barren as hell. Do we talk about No Man's Sky now, or do we leave it for like
No,
disappointments
let's
of the
talk
year?
about it briefly. I mean,
This is actually a
This
good
is
example.
this is late August, by the way.
I think we need
I
to talk about it.
did not
briefly.
play this because it reviewed so badly.
Because what?
I gave
It
it a
reviewed
chance.
so bad.
I gave it a chance.
If actual gamers cared about reviews as much as you did, Ben,
Yeah.
They do for something like this.
I swear they don't. No, they don't.
I-
because the
I-
sales
the
were
world
amazing.
would be a better place.
I played it because I was
well,
genuinely
initial
intrigued.
sales and then Steam refunds hit like their all-time high. But
And PlayStation.
Well, once the general consensus is out, you got to change your mind about stuff.
especially if
this
you
is
played a game for 40 hours and then get a refund. Oh, brilliant.
Please, Tano, go on.
I played it because I was genuinely intrigued by the whole explore the universe, do whatever the hell you want.
You've been saying for the last year and a half, this is the reason you haven't sold your PS4 because
Yes,
you're waiting for this
correct.
game.
And it was as disappointing as everyone said it was. And the thing is, it is exactly what I knew it was going to be, but it's not what I wanted it to be. And I think that was the problem, where a lot of people thought it was going to be something else. And
Yeah.
it is actually exactly like, if you listen back to Sean Murray and Hello Games, they actually promote it to be
He was trying to take
He
it down a
was,
notch.
yeah,
He
whereas
really was like, I don't
Sony's-
understand this
yeah.
hype. You guys, I
Exactly.
think
I
every
agree,
interview
yeah.
that he ever had, he said, I think you guys have got the wrong idea
Just
about
chill
this.
back. It's
This
just
is
a
what it
game,
is.
you know?
But that's
yeah.
not how Sony, because
Yeah.
personally, I really enjoyed it, but it's the kind of game that I tend to play. It's like a Minecraft-y kind of survival
Well, it's not
meets
really,
Spore kind of like, I don't know. Like, no, I mean, there's certain aspects of it that like you can't quantify that as a game mechanic, but it's
Yeah.
just something like, oh, you have to do that so that you can continue with the game. Like, it's more about the economy between
Yeah.
different universes and all that sort of stuff. There was nowhere near as much to it as they promoted, and even
I
like
disagree.
even
I think there was more to it than what they promoted. I think
but
it's
not
a,
what they said it
it's
was
a-
going to be.
It's a sim. It's a simulator.
Yeah.
It's not what Sony hyped it up to be.
Definitely not.
You
Definitely not.
can't market a sim to a mainstream audience. It is a sim,
Yeah.
and the problem is that it is such a
No, you
slow
can market a sim to a mainstream audience, but they want a refund.
Yeah.
This is a very good example of such.
The problem that
it's
Sony
just
had
such a slow grind. and
is
you
that they
just-
had such
No.
little stuff out on their top-selling console is that they had to
Yeah.
overhype what they had, and people filled in the blanks there with over expectation.
I
I
And
Steve's
think
right.
I think that the thing was when they showed the trailer, I think it was E3 2014. I don't think they expected the response that they got, and I think when they got
they
that,
Definitely
they,
not.
They
Yeah,
pushed it.
yeah.
And I think that's why. I don't think it had. There was a combination of them not having anything.
But that trailer itself was, again, misleading and probably the beginning of
Well,
the
apparently
problem
not.
that they had.
The
Oh, well,
UK advertising
maybe it
board
changed
said that
over
it wasn't.
time, but like, I'm pretty sure that like what the game is became waterlogged and lost at some point when their studios flooded and stuff. Like, I don't know if they ever really expected it to be. If Hello Games thought that this game was hiccuping its way into the future as something totally
Damn
different.
it,
that was Tono for the record.
But yeah, I don't know. Like I really
For the
liked it.
record.
I played it for like 2 days solid. Really enjoyed it and did sort of everything.
and then you stopped.
But
And then I stopped
have you ever
because there's-
gone back?
No, of course
Never.
not. And I know that they've been bringing in like every other day. I see like Hello Games are bringing in this whole thing to make this an actual game because everyone's losing their minds
Yeah.
over it.
Because- yeah.
But still, I don't
Station
care.
on a
Like
planet that you will leave and
There
never go
are-
back to.
I
there
had
are
fun with it and I
Sims.
moved on. That's it.
There are simulators like racing sims, city builders, God games.
It's also it wasn't a
And
full
then there's
price
No
game
Man's
either.
Sky.
Like
yeah,
Yes, it
shit.
was.
No,
no, it
was.
wasn't.
No, I bought it for
It was-
$90.
It was $80.
Well, you overpaid. It was $60 on the
Sony-
PlayStation
I
Store.
paid like
No, I bought it.
No, it wasn't.
No, I bought it for like
Yes,
$90.
It was.
Yeah.
It was 60
This has been this
bucks.
this
It's not
argument
now.
when everyone lost their minds over it. They were like, "Why is this a full price game?" It was never a full price
It
game.
was always like 60.
70 or 90 is the same in my head. to be
60.
honest.
I reckon
No
it was
way.
80.
Yes.
No
Okay,
way.
pretty
I want
sure
to
it
find
was
my
80.
receipt now.
Check on the Sony store.
I'm going to do
Make
it.
sure
I
it's in
think we should
USD
move on from No
currency.
Man's Sky. I don't think it dictates a lot of discussion. I mean,
I think
know
we'll
that-
probably come back to No Man's Sky if I'm honest. But
Oh,
yeah,
that's me. So that was my cue.
Anyway, I'll
Deus
just tell
Ex.
you my No Man's Sky experience. I played it for maybe 6 hours, and then I got stranded on a planet
time.
and gave up.
I totally understand why everyone hates it because it was
I
marketed
didn't.
wrong.
I actually didn't.
But I
hate
really
it.
enjoyed it.
I didn't hate
Oh
it.
man!
I found it hard to enjoy.
If you put in No Man's Sky PlayStation Store, Google like auto completes it to refund.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Anyway, what's the price in the place?
I'm
that
getting there,
is
I'm
a
getting there.
headline
I'm
right
getting
It's
there.
not going to say
That
it if you've
is a-
bought
that
it.
Headline
That
writes
was a
itself.
headline
It'll
like
just
6
say
months ago.
purchased, won't it?
What?
Oh, you're looking for the
But I'm not
receipt.
logged in on this particular laptop.
if you are,
That is a headline right there.
So, Deus Ex is the next game if you want to talk about it.
No.
Haven't played it.
Fine with me.
Yeah, we can. Oh, we can talk about. Yeah, I mean,
It's kind of
Probably.
big, but like it was one of those ones that I'm just like,
It's too generic.
Not interested. Which is a shame because it's
Which- 'cause
supposedly
Deus Ex
a
wasn't
bigger.
generic.
I didn't-
Oh,
I didn't
actually, you know
play
what?
it.
I can talk about this
I didn't play it.
because my housemate was playing it. Well, his name's Manch. Whatever, we're doing that.
It's $60
man, I know
now,
Manch.
by the way.
I think it's always been
No Man's
60
Sky
bucks.
is $54.95.
Deus
But they've
Ex.
got like 12 days of Christmas and shit going on. So
Well,
I don't
then
know.
it's. I think it was always 60 bucks. I think like
I
it
feel
was
like I
never a
spent more
full
than
price
that.
game.
Maybe.
Never.
It was definitely at EB Games. It was $100. So I don't know about the store.
What?
EB,
Yeah, it was.
Well,
Deus
EB
Ex.
Games, EB Games, and their partner Bethesda.
They're, normally EB is 100 and PlayStation Store's 80. So it's
What? Really?
first party Sony
As if
games
digital
are
games are
$80.
cheaper than.
Only for PlayStation.
Is that a thing now?
Only PlayStation first party.
Why? Anyway.
So only like Last Guardian, Last of Us, those style games are nothing else.
That's
Are we
shit
talking
about
about Deus Ex or are we?
I just want to
Oh, yes.
say that
not
I didn't play it, but I watched hours and hours of it.
So I didn't play it. Here's my opinion.
Here is my professional opinion. My God, that game looked ugly. I've never seen anything
I thought it was gonna be
in
like
this year
best thing ever.
that
Nah.
looked so amazingly ugly. Like every now and then there'd be a cutscene where it'd cut to super cool dude, professional 100% man, Adam Jensen, where you'd be like, oh my
His
God.
sunglasses are somehow
His
stuck to his face.
Sunglasses are so cool, and he looks, well, not too bad, I guess. And then you cut to somebody that he's standing next to on the train that looks like a subspecies. Like, they don't even look the same. It's disgusting. Like, there was so... I haven't seen anything for so long that was so, like, off-putting in that way that I just be like, oh, Jesus. It gave me like, chills.
Do
Physically
you want
moved me.
sunglasses that spring out from your temples?
I don't even think it's that,
Augment.
Steve. And the game might even be great, but like, I don't mean,
it
the
was
jury's out.
generic and boring.
Honestly, I don't give a shit. But oh my
Sorry.
god, that was just one of the most ugly games.
So next game.
September, we have Master of Orion, which was pretty good if you like 4X, but we're going to skip past that because I can't be asked.
The beer.
NHL, which I would like to talk about, but no one else wants to, so we'll skip
Anybody
past
need a
that.
toilet break? Steve, please, come on.
Best game in the franchise for a number of years is all I'm going to say about that.
Okay.
Moving on.
I am impressed, Steve.
What else do we have in September? We have
No sports.
Recor. Or are we
Tell me
saving
about
that for
Recor.
Recall
later?
is garbage.
Tell me about Recall.
No, that works. That's actually perfect.
Okay.
Perfect way to summarize.
I want to know
Recor.
more. Email me after
It's
the
not
show.
garbage. It's just average. It's
No,
average.
garbage because it broke and I can't keep. Anyway, carry on.
Forza Horizon 3.
You fell through the map, and that's where it saved.
I think
Yeah.
with the Forza Horizon franchise, I just feel that it's there's something about it. It's just not compelling enough for me. Like
I think it's the opposite. There's something about it that's extremely compelling for me.
It's
Is it the
almost
east coast of Australia?
It's
That
almost
might be
too
it.
easy. It's like you do simple things. Oh, here, have 1,000,000 credits.
I love that.
And
Is
it's-
it-
I don't.
I
I,
think
don't,
it's
I actually
easy.
don't like. I actually don't.
Is
love
it
that.
the guy who talks to you whose name is Derek Chunder? I've decided is that guy's name. What's his actual
the
name?
The Aussie accent in the game was
It's Warren or
irritating.
Warwick or something.
Apparently
Isn't it?
they're Australian, by the way.
One of them is
No, it was like the same dude
the
who
main.
did all of them.
The main chick who's like, oh, fiddle-dee-dee, and I'm like, why is she
No, she
Irish?
was clearly-
And then
yeah,
I'm like,
no.
well, you know, she's been
She
in it
was
from the
British,
start,
so
and
she-
she's always been that chick. And I was like, oh, okay.
The
well,
guy who did
whatever.
most of the Australian accents is the same Australian dude trying to do different Australian accents.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's it.
He's cornered the market. He's stealing all of our jobs. Get back on your
the
boat,
Australian
people.
version
Get
of
out
Troy
here.
Baker.
Get out of me country.
The Australian Nolan North, who became the Australian Troy Baker, who is now just him, whoever he is.
I don't think
I
it's
bet you he
like
lives in Bonnie
amazing,
Doon.
as great as people make it, but it's still a very good racing game. I don't doubt that
It's-
at all.
You've got to love arcade racing over. We talked about.
I
it
just
earlier.
got like after 5 or 6 hours, it's like, well, where's the challenge? Because I was getting
No,
a
there
million
isn't a
credits. Yeah, it's no challenge at all.
You
I
do
just-
get double credits if you bought the Ultimate Edition, which you probably had.
Yeah, I had it was getting very
Which
big credits.
Gets you double the amount, which is a bit dodgy. Spend more money
But-
now, get double
Agreed.
credits.
He made air quotes with his fingers, just by the way.
Damn it, Steve.
I don't know. If I want an arcade racer, I'll play Mario
I like.
Kart.
But can we talk about your favorite creation, like recreation of Australia? What was your favorite region in that game?
Oh, definitely the Apostles. You can't not.
There's 7 of them. We can
I like
count.
the drive. So when you're kind of
Derek
driving
Chander.
out of Byron Bay through like the rainforest.
From Byron Bay through Melbourne Central into Darwin and then back down to
Yeah. Within like a couple of seconds.
If I had to
True
show
Perth
anybody,
all the
No,
way,
I
yeah.
like the drive because I like trying to get the top speed through that area because I found that to be the toughest.
if I had to show
Yeah.
anybody anything,
Were
of
you a hoon
Australia,
in your teen years,
No,
Tano?
not at all.
Really?
He's an Italian.
You didn't have a
I was an outlier.
leather jacket.
I
and
was an
a-
outlier. My friends
quiff.
used to talk about doing doughies. And
I picture
like,
you-
know,
yeah,
I
yeah.
never used. I used to
Really?
be like, how do you even? I
Did
didn't
you ever
have-
talk like that? More importantly,
No.
really.
I used to get teased
I
because
picture
I didn't
you.
talk
I
like
picture
that.
you as like a greaser from
No,
like
I definitely
from
am not.
what's that movie where they want her to
Grease?
tell him more? Yeah, the greaser from Greece.
I don't know anything about cars.
That's
I
you.
I'm the most un-Italian Italian wog you'll ever meet.
You
I
did
don't
tweet
know.
today.
Until you met me.
Your mechanic asked you if you wanted your
That was
wheels
a Seinfeld
rotated.
joke.
My
Oh,
Hoff
really?
lifters.
Come on, like I'm
I don't
getting
get that.
ripped off at the dealership as if I'd ever get my car done at a dealership
Why did you do that?
because it's under warranty. I have to get it serviced
okay.
at the dealership.
Did he check your My Hoff lifters?
He actually said to me, the dealer said, "Do you want to get your tires rotated?" I said, "I don't think that's necessary." And he's like,
I don't think that's a thing,
and he
sir.
looked at me. He's like, "Well, do you want it or not?" I said, "What is that?" And he actually said, "He actually
What is
said
that,
He said,
tick?
well, we rotate your tires."
Yeah.
And then he explained it a bit more. I had to like condense it for the.
Did he
tweet.
put you down for the chump special?
But then when I went and
You
played,
didn't do a Johnson ride.
at the end of it, I said, "No." He's like, "All right, we'll put it down if it's necessary." And then when I went to go pay for it, when the car came out, and he's like,
Oh, it was necessary.
no. He's like, yeah, your tyres didn't need to be rotated. So, like, had I said, yes, rotate the tyres, they would have charged me for that. But they didn't need to be rotated.
Of course.
Whatever that means.
They're trying to feed their kids, Tana. They've got a business
As if
to run.
what? Don't get your car serviced at a dealership.
That's right. That's
Take
right,
the George
listeners.
Costanza.
Don't get your car serviced. You should crash. That's if that's one thing we can all
Do
agree
it
on
yourself.
here.
You just
Yeah.
spin the tire around yourself with a stick.
This is so interesting. But October,
Forza related.
Gears of War 4. Go.
Excellent horde mode. I think horde mode is great.
I actually didn't.
That hasn't changed much, has it? Like, but it's
No,
still
it's-
awesome,
it's a
right?
better version of
they've
it, but
They've
not
added it
changed
quite a
much.
bit. That was the only
More
thing
polygons?
that I played.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed much at all, though.
Yeah, but
and it hasn't needed to. Like,
no, I think they just tightened it up a bit. I think
Yeah.
it'll be better.
It's inspired like countless similar modes.
I think multiplayer. I haven't really
Definitely.
been into Gears multiplayer before, but I liked it in Gears 4. Some of the modes they had are really good. And campaign is probably one of the worst campaigns.
Is
of
it really?
Gears.
Not fun.
That's a shame.
The
Not
The
co-op
shitty horde bits in it are the
as
worst.
a co-op shooter, it's still good, but they add in like forced horde modes.
Is it
four times.
goons, Ben? Swarms of goons?
Yes.
But that's always been Gears, really.
No, but much worse. They force the horde mode into the campaign. You've already got the horde mode.
So the campaign is a tutorial for various different modes.
And the horde mode
Yeah,
in
basically.
campaign is far more difficult than horde mode itself.
It's
oddly
not
enough.
as fun because the point of horde mode is you have 5 different players who do 5 different things in campaign.
You enjoy yourselves. You
Do you
Yeah.
know what we've seen with Xbox now? They've lost Epic and they've lost Bungie, and now Sony's going to lose Naughty Dog, and they're going to go down the same route. And we're just getting to a point now where
It could be interesting times where things switch around a little bit. Not the franchises, but the developers.
like the games aren't terrible. It's just like they're uninspiring.
Yeah.
And with Halo
It's still
5,
perfectly fun. It's just it's not a system seller.
On the
like
box. On the
Yeah.
box.
Gears of War
Perfectly
1,
well, like
fine.
Halo 5,
2,
you look
3.
at Halo 5 are most played on Xbox. Once upon a time, Halo 3, Halo 4 was in the top 3 or 4 games. Halo 5 is not even in the
Well,
top
Halo
10.
Halo 3 at its time was revolutionary and amazing.
even Halo 4?
Halo 5 was boring.
Derivative.
But for even Gears to not be in the top 10 on
You know what I'm
Xbox,
saying? All these multiplayer
Damn.
games are garbage now, and it's back to single player.
No, the most
As
played
it
games
should
on
be.
Xbox are
Which
multiplayer.
is all right.
Because if you want to play multiplayer, you've got both of those
Overwatch.
games to play. Oh, and now Overwatch. You've got, if you like COD, then play COD. If you like Battlefield, do that. And now you've even got Overwatch.
So what month are we
Or you
in?
can play Hearthstone. Shit. If you want a real
that's
game,
better.
play a game.
October also was the launch of PlayStation VR, which is overpriced and cool, but it's more cool because I can't wait to take Shane to my house tomorrow and show him PlayStation VR because he'll have more enjoyment from it then than I will now, having had it in my house for a while.
It's a Wii remote for PS4.
Yep.
Do you know
Novelty,
what I
no good
reckon
games yet.
Sony should have done? They should have not made it a PlayStation. They should have kept it PlayStation VR, but they should have opened it up. A little
What, to
bit
work
more.
on Xbox and stuff?
Like
not so
open
much
source
Or like, what do you
Yeah,
mean?
open source a little bit more because I think that. I mean, we all know that porn is going to kind of drive VR.
So you want porn on PlayStation VR?
No, but I'm saying
He's
that
saying that porn is going to drive the VR industry
is.
just like it did
It
with
is.
Blu-ray and
I think
DVD.
that,
and
VHS.
Exactly.
PSVR has undersold by like more than 1 million based on
Because
projections.
there's no good games on it.
Wait a minute, Tano said porn and we didn't all freak out. That's just like, loud, that's our secret word of the day. Please go on.
It
Sorry,
is-
what was
it
the
is-
word you said?
Adult film.
Ah! Cheeky
He
bastard.
means porn.
I think they've made a mistake in that regard, but anyway, we'll see.
That's it.
don't know.
Battlefield 1. Screw it. We're moving on. Also October.
Ben.
which
Still on sale, are we?
Stevivor
Pretty great game.
awarded our game of the
Pretty great
shooter
game.
game of the year.
It's
Great
an amazing
campaign.
game.
The best Battlefield campaign I think I've ever played.
Definitely.
I don't really remember like 21, 43, whatever.
No, that's garbage.
But like that's my thing. Like I'll
Yeah.
remember Battlefield 1's campaign because
You will
It's
always
just-
remember the Titans.
like I'll remember the damn it, Shane.
I love that movie. Sorry.
It is
I'm big
a-
into Denzel.
Denzel.
I just watched Magnificent Seven. So sorry, go on.
I'll remember like that Australian Aussie mission. I'll remember those quotes, but like not really. Like they're not quotable enough. But you'll remember them.
No,
when
but
you
it was
hear them.
pretty amazing.
Yeah,
Like
but
the
it's a
campaign
great-
was
it's-
incredible.
Yeah, it's an unreal campaign.
Yeah.
but, the multiplayer is... I've played all of the Battlefield games, and I've sucked at all of them, including Battlefield 1, but I can see that this is the tightest, the most balanced.
Do you think if you put in more time, you wouldn't suck? Or I'm trying to phrase that less mean. I don't know why it came out like that.
I've put in like 2 hours, and when I say I don't suck, I'm not blaming the game on that. I'm just saying
Yeah.
I've never been good at Battlefield.
You've never been... Is it
but
because
I
you've never
enjoy
been
it.
into it? Or
I'm not good at Battlefield.
Okay.
But I actually enjoy
2 hours
this.
seems like give it a go, though, you know?
2 hours? I
Yeah.
said 2 days.
You said 2 hours.
Oh,
but
did I? I
yeah,
meant 2 days worth almost.
Well, get good. Fuck.
I know, right? With
Get
other
good.
like Battlefield 3, 4, and Hardline, I've put in a lot of time in them.
Do we really put Hardline in there?
Yeah,
Really?
because
Is it
well,
that good?
DICE had a lot of influence over the multiplayer. A lot of influence.
Do we talk
And
about
Visceral-
Battlefront then?
Visceral is amazing, like in their
I
own
think
right.
Battlefront
Yeah,
was a
come
better
on.
multiplayer game than Hardline.
Yeah, but
Totally different.
Battlefield
games.
1 is an
Totally.
amazing...
Battlefield 1 is like
Hardline's just-
Doom in that it had a really, really good single-player campaign, or campaigns, I guess.
Oh,
depending
I
on how you
know
look at
why
them.
we awarded it Game of the
No, but like
Shooting
it
Year.
has a whole bunch of amazing little like set piece, like separate story single-player things, but it also has an amazing multiplayer.
Yeah, it's not fair to say that Battlefield won Shooter of the Year on its multiplayer alone because its
No,
campaign
it
is
won it
incredible.
because it was an
package.
entire package.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
I agree. I get that.
It's just if you care
And I
about
would
both
say
sides of the
the
package,
first
you're
one,
wrong.
I can't remember any other. Hardline had an okay single player because it was episodic and it was kind of a joke.
I think it was built around that.
It was
like-
it was built around that kind of.
and
laid
maybe the
prime
idea
time-
of cops and robbers
was
as a
the prime
multiplayer thing, but it
time-
didn't never really
No, but
work.
that
Primetime
mentality-
CSI type of
That
like,
mentality laid the foundation
But,
for
like,
Battlefield 1's
That's
segregated.
Yeah.
But
bits.
Battlefield
That
1
doesn't mean
was
it doesn't
on another
suck.
level.
You don't publish an idea like it should be a fully formed thing. Like it can't stand on its own as merits on whatever.
I didn't. Anyway, my point is that Battlefield 1, like, I can see that. Just you can tell that DICE has put the reason why they skipped a year was because they put a lot of effort into this. And
Thank God, skip a year every now and then. Like
I
how
know,
how
right?
bad is that? Honestly, I as much as I loved Doom and I really wanted it to be like, because for me personally, like that's my shooter game of the year. But like, I totally agree with all the reasons why for us at Stevivor we gave Battlefield 1 shooter of the year because you're right, it is the whole
at
package.
Phoenix Bazaar, out of 1,000 votes, it's actually Overwatch.
Overwatch is a whole
Overwatch,
different thing.
Doom, Titanfall 2, and then Battlefield 1.
Poor Titanfall 2.
But I know that your site brings in a lot of Overwatch people. So
It is a lot.
It's got
it is a lot of Overwatch.
it's got a
But Titanfall 2
really
is surprising, which we'll
rambunctious
talk about.
community. Overwatch, I feel.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good segue. October, Titanfall 2, go.
I think that good segue. Well done.
Not
I
really,
think
but
that
thank you. I'll
someone that
take it.
likes-
Can you reach
someone
your back
that
from there?
likes-
Because I'll pat you on it if you like.
Someone that likes Overwatch is more likely to like Titanfall than they would.
Battlefield? Yeah,
Battlefield.
definitely. Battlefield
that's
can be
it.
like a lesson in frustration.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I think that might lead to those results in, and I think that maybe the Overwatch community might be more appreciative of Doom single player, but Titanfall 2 just a victim of terrible scheduling.
I almost
Terrible.
think we need to
It's
give...
so good though.
No,
like it's such a
terrible.
shame.
That's
It
Hold
really
on
really
to
is.
that
is.
point.
They've
We
ruined
need
it.
to spend this much time on Titanfall and then move on because that's clearly what EA did.
Well, I said
We'll get back to it.
Savage!
We'll get back to it.
the
Jeez,
review
I
events
think
for-
I should bleep you then because that was outrageous, Steve.
No, it's true though.
The
Well,
events
it was
for Battlefield were
explicit.
back
It
to
is
back, so we played Battlefield 1 like Thursday, Friday, and Titanfall Monday, Tuesday. And the EA people said, "Do you think, just in casual conversation, which I bring up now, do you think people will play both of these?" And I said, "Yeah, because I think Battlefield 1's the better game, but I'm better at Titanfall, so I enjoy it more. That's probably what I will play, but I'll probably play both of them."
But Ben, I'm sorry to
But
be
I
a
think that
dick.
was the
You
problem,
say
though.
this.
That's
You
the
say
problem.
this as a guy who doesn't have to pay for the games, and
No,
if you guys
that's,
just-
No, but
that's
that's
also what I told them. I
Yeah.
said, you have to assume people can buy
But
both of them.
regardless,
And
that's
no
the
one did.
problem though, because Titanfall and Battlefield are totally different markets. And if you're saying that, I'd play both of them, at the end of the day, you're still going to probably side with one. They want you to choose one or the other. They don't want you to say, "I'll play both of them."
No,
That's probably the point of their
what
question.
they
So why
Exactly.
release them in the same
Exactly.
freaking
What they
exactly.
wanted,
window?
I think, ideally, was people were going to play Battlefield and Call of Duty, so they wanted people to play Battlefield and Titanfall instead. And that's the mistake they made, thinking people would play both, and they thought, "We'll kill COD with Titanfall, and then we'll have both
Good
games."
luck.
Which was a naive, and someone would have lost their job. over
Even
that. That
even
is
a
such
year where
stupid
like
reason
everyone
to
was
do
like,
that.
"This is going to be the worst."
Why else would they have
COD,
done?
like-
That's the only thing I can
Oh
make
no,
sense
I
of.
agree. Like that's the only reason why they would have done it, and it's ridiculous to think that way.
I assume the only reason this happened is because, like after the trailers and everything was coming about the new COD, and there was so much backlash, they thought if there's ever a time that we can take down COD with Titanfall, it's right now. They were very, very
thing-
wrong.
the-
Dun,
yeah.
dun,
And
dun,
maybe
dun.
they could have if Battlefield 1 wasn't right there.
No, they wouldn't. There's no. They,
Yeah,
they
if
still
Battlefield
wouldn't
sucked
have-
more,
They
maybe
still wouldn't have
Titanfall.
because Call of Duty is still too big for as much negative
Yeah.
press and as much as people downloaded that YouTube video. You still had people
When-
buying it for Modern Warfare Remastered and people that were still just interested in COD. And there was no way, even without Battlefield, there was no way that people weren't just going to buy it anyway. And at the end of the day, they weren't going to say, "Oh well, I'd rather save for Call of Duty. I know what COD's going to offer. Titanfall, I didn't play it because I had a PlayStation. It was only on Xbox.
And that's
Why
why
would
it did
I
so
buy
much
it?"
better. It came out in February or March as a Xbox exclusive.
That's what they should have done again.
And there was nothing around that time to place. People
And
bought
it
it. I
died.
think. That
no,
was
that was
because
a DLC.
that's because
issue.
they messed up
That
their
was a
DLC,
issue,
which is the
because
only
it
thing
sold
they fixed.
well.
There's no dodgy DLC for this one.
The sales justified the sequel.
I think those are the two things. Either they had to go with, or both of these two things.
Yeah.
At least one of them, they had to go with a different release date, somewhere between January and June or July, as we just talked about, is pretty empty. And being an Xbox exclusive gave it a bit of prestige. You're something if you're a console exclusive.
It was pretty early after the launch, too,
Vince
like-
Zambella
Yeah.
does not seem happy.
Are we
with
are we not going to see a
I think-
Titanfall 3 then? Do you
I
reckon?
don't
Or
think so. I think
No
if
way.
it had stayed an Xbox
Not for
exclusive,
a
I
Not
think
from
yes.
not from EA,
Not from EA.
Well,
no
it-
way.
well, Naughty Dog aren't doing much.
because Respawn owns Titanfall.
Yeah.
They're a developer.
Compared to those other things we talked about, Respawn.
I
do
know what
actually
I'm
own it.
talking about.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Respawn went to Microsoft and said Titanfall 3 Xbox exclusive to come out in April.
with Scorpio
in
Well,
3
they could
years.
They should definitely do
could-
that.
If they were,
Yeah.
they could do a Scorpio release in late 2018.
I think it needs to be later than that.
As long as it's on the same day
Well,
as
it's 2
Battlefield
it's
and
2
COD,
years
then I
away.
say
That's
go
like
for it.
less time than.
No,
Yeah.
but I think releasing in November is a mistake again. They need to release at a different time of year. They're not going to do
true,
the same
that's
thing,
right.
so I reckon they'll
So
go.
maybe early 2019, so a year and a half after Scorpio, maybe.
Or they might even go early. Like, let's just
Mid-
cut our losses with Titanfall 2 and let's go mid 2017.
I thought you said Seinfeld too.
Not 17.
I'd play
mid
Seinfeld.
2018. I mean,
It's been too long. Bring out the sequel, Seinfeld 2.
What if
Yeah.
Seinfeld had sequel?
What's the deal, Shane,
Go on.
with
Airline
Pokemon in
Peanuts?
November? That was my impression.
Yeah,
of
no.
Seinfeld.
If you hadn't have,
What's the
if you hadn't
deal?
explained it,
It
it
was
probably
this
would have
close
sat
to
on its
that.
own. It would have been
Very good.
alright.
This close to that.
you know, I bought Pokemon Chain because you said it was good. So
How do you feel about it? Have you played it, or
He's
is
like,
it just sitting
"Damn,
on the
you
I
wasted
played it for
50
about,
bucks.
3 hours, so I'm halfway in, and
Jesus
Harsh.
Christ, Ben. When will you wake up,
no,
sir?
I will play this properly. I just haven't had time.
It
yet.
really is. It's great. Look, I honestly, I'm, huge Pokemon fan. I've played like every proper installment since they started coming out, and it's one of those things that's like I can't even think of anything even close to that. Like that it's been around for the entire time that I've been playing games. Like, because this was, I think, other than like a few, like Zelda's Awakening or Link's Awakening, and that. Oh no, not even that. I don't know. This might even be one of the very first games that I ever played. I've been playing it for 20 years, and it's been exactly the same. And it's been
the same.
exactly what I want, and it hasn't changed. And I like my games regimented and exactly the same for 20 years. And I'll tell you what I don't like about them. And I don't know, like I X and Y was great. I loved X and Y because they bring in some cool new Pokemon. It didn't change the formula too much. Even Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire Well, it was just a remake, and they shook things up more in those remakes than they did in their main Gen 6 sort of title. And then when I realized like all this different stuff was going to happen in Sun and Moon, and they were changing things up. There's no gyms anymore. There's like they've changed quite a lot of it, and like it really is just kind of not a huge deal. Like the gameplay is still basically exactly the same. The fact that they changed things up a little bit is really refreshing, coming from someone who hated the idea of it and was like, this is going to be shit, I'm going to hate this Pokemon. I wasn't sold on most of the new Pokemon or the new versions of old Pokemon. I thought they all were going to be crap, and I saw all of them pre-launch as there was a big leak, and I was like, they are all shit and I hate them. And then when I played each one of them, or I caught them, or I fought against them, I was like, oh no, I understand why this is cool. The idea behind it. There's always there is a garbage Pokemon, Ben. There's two of them.
I fought against the dog with the paintbrush, and it's like, what is this?
That's not new.
Well, I don't like that one.
That sounds.
That's
like
what I'm saying. There's always been shit Pokemon. Look at Mark, who's now the gay pride ambassador. Okay. He's just like a rainbow.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. What are you trying to say, Shane? Huh?
I'm saying he used to be shit, and now
he's fabulous.
He's from San Francisco, and he's my dog, I guess. Except for the dog with the paintbrush. Anyway,
so the thing is, rated this game pretty highly, as noted by the Nintendo eShop, Shane.
Yeah, we were on the Nintendo eShop.
Oh,
That's
really?
cool.
Yeah,
we got
still are
quoted. Oh, we are.
Or just the quote?
Our quote.
Nintendo
Quote and then score.
Demand the linking, damn it.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think the eShop is capable of that.
Dear Nintendo,
The eShop can't do
please
that.
link me.
Dearest Nintendo.
The more I play it, the more because I'm thinking about the rumor of Pokemon Stars, which is, besides, let's take out X and Y. There was a rumor of Pokemon Z for a long time.
Ben,
but
please continue so I can shut you down in a second. Go on.
Okay. So there's historically been a third Pokemon with basically an enhanced version of each two forever.
Until the last 6 or 7 years of the 20 years. But yeah, go on.
And Black and White did Black and White 2 instead of a third one.
And what did X and Y do?
Nothing.
Z?
X and Y is the only one that didn't do anything.
Yeah, what did Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire do?
Those games already existed. They already had Emerald before.
But they had Platinum as well.
Oh,
they haven't. They've been off schedule for a while now. But yeah.
They've take out the remakes.
I'm not saying
anyway,
the Eclipse thing or
I
get
that Shane just trumped you like in a whole bunch of arguments, but
he didn't actually.
But think of it this way:
I do agree with him, but I'm just pointing
Nintendo's
out.
releasing a hybrid handheld, not handheld console, and this game just came out, and it seems very logical that Stars would come out, in my head at least.
I haven't even made my point yet why I think that makes sense.
We all know where you're going, Ben.
No, you don't.
Yeah, we do. Go on, make your point.
There's 2 points to this shit.
Go on, please.
Number one, I think you play in a slightly different aspect ratio in Pokemon Sun and Moon, and I think that makes a lot more sense to play potentially on TV. They'll have to add in a lot more detail into it.
I don't think they've got to do much work, man. Have you seen people with emulators who are emulating it in like 1080p or 4K or whatever?
You've come to my second point. We're currently playing in 240p.
Yeah.
Bring this up to 1080, it's going to look a lot better.
Upscaled, it looks amazing.
Well,
like
you would be surely
surprised.
it won't be even upscaled. It's going to be native. They surely made it in that.
Yeah.
All of the Pokemon have models that are decidedly more complex than what you see right now.
And they're so smooth. Honestly, look up like any sort of YouTube Pokemon Sun 1080p or whatever. Like, it looks incredible. Like, it looks like it could be on, like a home console, not a handheld or whatever. And that's just the models that they put in.
Do we think that if this console were to launch with that game...
They're not going to launch with it. It's going to be late next year.
It's not going to matter. And it's one of those things that it's becoming increasingly difficult to pin down what Pokemon are doing. Yes, there's been rumors about there's going to be a third one and it's going to be on the next console.
I don't know
how likely it is.
I think this makes more sense than there has been for the past 5 years that would do it now. Because there's a new
But again, for the last 5 years, it's been not what everyone thought. So I don't know. I think take it with a grain of salt. I thought what you were going to say was, do you get into this now when potentially there might be a new Pokemon next year, which is at every point in everyone's life, there's always going to be a new Pokemon next year.
You can't not play it on the basis that it will be released on Switch because it's been so inconsistent.
Yeah.
But you're right. So when Black and White came out, there was a rumor of Grey because at that point, that's what had happened. There'd been a third one for every game.
Well, I
until
mean,
then.
it would be great unless you could get people.
It would
to
be
buy
great.
two of them,
Right.
right?
But then when they
Yes.
had said
Yes,
Grey,
thank you, Steve.
Nintendo's like, screw
Thank you,
you people, we're doing Black and White 2 instead, and that was different.
Double your money.
And then X and Y, they're like, oh, they'll go back to it. There's going to be a Pokemon Z, and that just never happened.
Well,
so you're right. They've decided to.
Well, I
change
mean,
it
I
up.
don't want to spoil anything story wise, but Sun and Moon are effectively Pokemon Z. Like a lot of the things that everyone assumed were coming up and that happened in the anime and all that sort of rubbish happen in or things that they've alluded to for the last couple of years happening in a third installment of
But
X
if
and
we-
Y
if we-
have happened in Sun and Moon, which is weird because they laid the groundwork for it several years before.
If we go back to what they used to do in like Yellow, like that far back, story-wise, Pokemon Stars can be the same as Sun and Moon. Like they don't have to do a new story.
But they
can just
won't,
do whatever they
because they haven't done that since the last time they did a third, but it was a third and fourth installment, was all the way back in the fourth generation. This is Generation 7 now that we're talking about currently, was
Yeah.
Black and White 2, and they were sequels. They
want.
haven't
Yeah, so that one doesn't
they
count.
haven't
Go back
done. They
before
haven't
that.
done. Since Generation 3, which was on the Game Boy Advance. Ben is what I'm talking about. This is
Yeah,
a long
but
time.
you know why
since
this
they've
is
done
different though? Because this is the first time they've had a new console where they can be like, we can do Pokemon in HD for the first time, and it sounds like they've developed it in HD.
I don't think Nintendo have ever cared about HD. They've had several new consoles since the Game Boy
but
Advance.
they will want to have it on Switch next year. If
Anyway,
they can.
all this
I
we
think
can,
that's why. I
we
think
can
Switch
sit
is the
around. We can
reason.
sit around and decide what's going to happen with Pokemon forever because who knows? I think more importantly, before we move on, I think it deserves a mention of another big change that happened. Was the story was not just the same old thing. It's actually really, really good. And Pokemon Sun and Moon feels more like a real RPG rather than the next Pokemon game with the same thing where you're 10 and you go and meet Professor, he's got his shirt off and then you win the thing.
Are
Like
you still 10 in this game? Because
you're actually 11, but that's
Okay.
I mean
It's
that's
still
a
weird.
minor detail, but I mean hey, that's huge. But the thing is like the character there's actually character development. The people that you bump into aren't just some dick that you keep seeing who's like, aren't you an idiot? Like I think you stink, and then you fight him, and then you have to fight him
Yeah. And here's
16
a
other
question I
times.
have: how come my guy always wears 3/4 pants? Like, can't he get some full jeans or something? Like,
If you
not
play more than
available?
3 hours, you can get to the second island in Hawaii and buy some pants.
I bought some pants that only have
Pants?
3/4 pants.
3/4 pants, Ben, are
Yeah.
not pants. You will buy pants.
I can get full pant.
Have you been? I was in Hawaii 2 or 3 weeks ago. You don't want to be wearing pants. We should move on. We're
Final
talking
Fantasy
about.
V,
We're reviewing
17.
pants now.
Which one? 15. Final Fantasy 15. That one.
Oh God, this is me again too. Has anyone
No,
else?
I love it. It's boy band Final Fantasy. It reminds me of Final Fantasy X, which people don't like as much, but that was my.
You're
kind
just
of
saying that
like,
because I said that. But yeah,
no, but no. Like Ben said, he hates 10. I think Final Fantasy 15
I don't think I ever said hate, but yes.
in its core is a decent game as you play through and get towards the end, and then have to deal with the climax of the story
Gets
and
tricky, yeah.
side quests and car parts that do certain things that are just like broken in the world at large.
You know
like its flaws start to show, but it's a good game.
At this point, before you guys get into it deeply, can I hear what Tano has to say? Because in the chat, he said, you bought this game, Tano, and you complained about how much you hated it for about 10 hours, and then you said you got really into it.
Yeah,
How did that
so-
happen?
I still hate
walk us
it
through it.
Take me back to when
I
you...
still hate
Why
it.
did you buy it initially?
because I got caught up in the hype of it all.
And then what did
Because
you think...
it's not just Final Fantasy anymore. It's a big AAA
What did-
title
it's a
now.
Final Fantasy for fans and
What did
first
you think
timers.
after the first 2 hours?
The first 2 hours, I thought, "What is this garbage?"
Final Fantasy?
And then after like
Is
6
this your
hours...
then
first
after, like,
JRPG time?
For a long, long time.
It's the most Western JRPG
Yeah,
ever.
it is.
But yeah,
it is.
go
I
on.
could see that as well, but
yeah.
at the same time, you can see that it's very kind of JRPG.
Yeah.
At the same time,
It's really weird. It's really
it's a
weird
bizarre,
to put your
It is
finger
a
on
bizarre
that.
game, and
Yeah.
there were certain things that I got really into, like I really loved kind of like the camping aspect, and
There was some cool mechanics. that
Sponsored
they
by
I
put
just-
in
Coleman.
there.
I
Yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
Like
We've had years to already be
Oh,
over
yeah,
at
yeah,
that.
it's-
I didn't even see the brand names because I saw them in like demos from 3 years
Also,
ago.
cup
you know?
noodle. What?
Cup
Oh
noodle.
my God,
I'm
I
sorry.
spent-
If you've ever watched any anime ever, then you know that like cup noodle is the biggest
Do you
thing
know what?
ever.
Yeah,
I was
I know.
so dedicated. I spent like 3 hours. I didn't want to look at any guides. I spent like 3 hours looking for the cup noodle guy,
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
and I haven't.
I
found,
just-
I
I-
didn't
He's in
find
the-
him.
I
in
happened
Stallion.
upon him.
I didn't find him because
And
I
then Steve
didn't want
came in
any
and ruined it.
guidance. I didn't want to. I didn't want any tips from the
Lestallium.
NPCs.
Lestallium. Not
But
old Lestallium.
anyway, I've stopped playing it. now, but
Legit normal Lestallium.
I can get why I appreciate now. Like it was a game that I hated to love because I enjoyed myself, but at the same time I did not enjoy myself. It was
I-
that sort of game, and that's just not something I can really commit beyond more than like 25 hours, which is about what I put
I
into
think
it.
I think they've done an amazing job with it, but I think its scope is way bigger than what
it's
it is.
way more-
There are
yeah.
so many little
Definitely.
things about it at the end, like little gameplay mechanics, like go and find this side quest where you have to go and find 5 frogs in an area on the map, and
Well,
you're
which
just like,
one? The first time or the second time or the third time or the fourth time?
Well, I think
That's
there's-
every
I
quest.
think there's only 3, but like
quest-
there's
like
also
every-
one where you
every
have to find
every side quest
bear
is
traps
like that.
in the same area. No, there's 2 that are like that. Most of them aren't like that. Most of them are go and kill a certain thing, and it's all pretty. Simple.
Yeah, but like,
And it holds your
talk
hand
to
maybe
Guy.
even
He's
too
like,
much.
you have a legend. Kill this thing. Go back.
Again,
Oh, you have more of a legend.
This is a
Kill this thing.
JRPG. It's like the JRPGs are more about fetch quests than Western RPGs.
Yeah, but no,
even
but like
are.
Final Fantasy X did it in a way that it felt like it flowed with the world far better,
yeah,
and even 7
But-
than it did
but oh,
in
Jesus.
15.
But here's the thing, Steve: is Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy VII knew what they were and what they were trying to do. They didn't have this this
This
complex of
needing to be
what
all
it is,
inclusive.
because it's an ambitious thing, and for it to try and be, as we keep saying, Final Fantasy for first timers and for fans, for it to be such a mixture of Western and Japanese RPGs, like it has this kind of identity crisis that's like sometimes you're like, wow, that was really Japanese, and then sometimes you think that was a really Western idea, but implemented in the wrong way because it's still at heart a Japanese game. Like I put I think like 96 hours into it before I was like, that is it. I'm putting it down. I'll come back when DLC comes around or whatever. I really, really enjoyed it, and I think the more you play it, the more depth you can find in it. And it's one of those, because it's a Final Fantasy game, there's quite a lot of people out there are going to play this for 100 hours or
Yeah.
even more.
I'm at
and the fact that
57.
there's that much depth in it, you can... Maybe every 10, 15 hours you'll find something new and you find a reason to keep going back to it over. Like, there is a lot of depth, but it is very repetitive, and that just happens to be the nature of these kind of JRPGs. And I think
Yeah.
they've done a really good job of sort of like going down the middle between the Western and Japanese thing, and they've really done the like, this is the big JRPG and also a big AAA game that we're trying to sell. I think they've done a pretty good job on both fronts, but because they try to do both, they've undersold both sides in some way.
Yeah, it's one of those games where like I'm still playing. I'm 57 hours in, and I'm kind of like getting to the end where like I'm hating it now, but now I need to finish.
These are the games that I play. Like, I love the grind. That's why I spent like
I need to
2,000 hours in
I
Destiny.
need
like,
to fish and I need to run around.
Yeah, I know.
Those are the only two
Ben is
achievements
losing
that
his
I have.
mind right now.
2,000
I
hours
just-
in
I-
Destiny.
More than
I
2,000.
just
Oh
find
my
the
God.
grind.
That was year one.
I find the grind in Destiny to be so much more rewarding.
Oh, and
and
is.
in
It's
Final
better
Fantasy,
gameplay.
like I reached a point where, I mean, they're trying to create an open world RPG experience, and I just like I can't appreciate how people can hold them to a higher standard and a higher level than Western RPGs.
Well, that's why
because
I've played
I find
Destiny
it-
20 times more than
I
I've
just-
played.
I get it. Like I get that people appreciate the Japanese culture and the Japanese way of making those sorts of games more, and that's fine. But
It could, for me, be a lot to do with nostalgia as well. Like, I grew up
Yeah,
playing most
fair
of these
enough.
games, so
Yeah.
I like those type of games.
Fair enough.
But I think before we move on, what I want to stress before we move on is the character development in Final Fantasy 15 is its strongest feature. And I know there's quite a lot of people out there who A lot of people just hate Prompto, and that's fine. Like
He's my
some
favorite.
people hate people. That's cool.
He's like the Nick Carter of boy
I
bands.
like all of them, and I think the fact that when they came out, like it's a shame that you really have to watch the movie, and even that's not going to fix. There's plot holes as you go through
Which
anyway.
movie? There's two basically.
No,
There's Brotherhood and Kingsglaive.
Brotherhood's an anime. There's like 5
Yeah,
episodes.
but that's still a movie if you combine them. Anyway, you're like, shut up, Steve. I'm making a point.
Anyway, there's still plot holes, like, and it could be because there's more DLC coming out or whatever. But like they said when they released it that they're not going to make a sequel for this. This is going to be it. They're not going to do what they did with 10-2 and whatever. Because
10-3, Lightning Returns.
no, that was 13-2 and
Adventure-
13-3.
Oh, sorry.
or
Yeah,
whatever.
sorry.
But still, since 9, which I think is the last really good Final Fantasy before this one came along, because
Oh, but
that's when the
10
original creator left as
10
well.
on its own would have
It
been
is
fine.
great,
If
but
you
it's-
didn't make 10-2, it would have been perfect. But anyway, sorry.
10's different to me because it was a different like production. Anyway,
Hmm.
but yeah, I got to like I'm doing the last of the dungeons and I'm doing those hidden doors and I'm doing like all this really crazy stuff and I'm really enjoying. There's all like the really insane bosses that are really cool and just really tough and all that extra stuff there if you want to get into it. And I started going, I don't want to stop playing this because I've grown to love these 4 characters so much. And like, you can relate and enjoy characters in any game, and a lot of Final Fantasy games are, up there because you spend quite a lot of time in it.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, I don't want to stop playing. Like, it's the first time ever I've been like, DLC, the evilest thing in my mind. I can't wait for more DLC because I want to
Yeah.
get back into it. So I
at the
started
same
watching
time-
Stand By Me because I knew it was there was quite a lot of Stand By Me things into it, and I was like, yeah. And then I watched that and I started anyway.
At the
It
same
took me off on
time
this
that you're
tangent.
saying this, but like, there's a point where Gladiolus just like disappears, and he basically goes, "Hey guys,
I'm setting up a DLC.
I'm going to go away for a while and not explain it. I'll see you later." And you're like, "Well,
All of them do that at some point.
yeah, but that's shit.
It's cheap, yeah.
That to me,
I agree.
is shitty,
I agree.
and you shouldn't need a game's DLC to fill in the
But,
story. Much like you shouldn't need Brotherhood and Kingsglaive.
But
to do
I'm
the same
fine
thing.
with it because it means I'll get to go back to that world and be
Experience
more like.
more? Yeah.
I don't want them to do a second one because they will screw it up. They always screw it up. But I want them to turn like Brotherhood or something into an actual like ongoing anime because I really like those characters. I think they're really well rounded. They're great. They're pretty
broy without
cliche,
being
but
broy.
they're
No, they're not
great.
broy. They're
you know?
like they're tolerable without being like, "Hey bro, hey what's up? Let's go and like kill that Adamantoise." Well, I reckon December is going to be admittedly fast and quick. That's the same word twice, basically, because
Will it be speedy?
it'll be speedy and fast and quick and expedited because
It's
hardly
Gonzalez.
any of us have played these games because it's mid-December. We have Steep, Last Guardian, and Dead Rising 4. Anyone want to make any comment about any of those?
Well, Steep was an okay idea, which didn't really work out in practice because the trick system doesn't work. The timing's all off.
Jesus,
Uh,
that's rough. Go on,
You
please.
can read his review on PhoenixWazard.com.
it's great. The
Frank can read our
That's not what his
4.5
shirt
review on
says.
Stevivor.com.
Oh,
Wing Tune is really fun. Like
Have
the
his cake
idea
and
is
eat it
really
too.
fun. It's just I think I said at the end of my review, if you want to just do crazy tricks, play the backwards compatible version of SSX, which is on Xbox One.
tricky.
I agree.
Yeah.
Tricky's
No,
not.
not tricky. The
What?
most
The reboot.
recent SSX.
Who gives a shit about any SSX that's not tricky? That's the
No,
SSX. for me.
SSX, the most
Unavailable.
recent SSX is really good.
That's not. No, you're wrong. What I'm saying is, let's
It's
just
not,
play
he's
tricky.
saying it's not tricky.
Yeah,
I get it.
it's not tricky to rock
get you.
around.
That's
To rock
right.
around right on time. It's tricky.
It's tricky, Tano.
Are you unsure? Because it's tricky.
It's pretty tricky.
Well, Dead Rising
Here we
4
go.
is basically the same. It's you played a lot of Dead Rising 4, surely, Steve.
Dead Rising 4 is shit because it got rid of all the good stuff that made Dead Rising Dead Rising.
It made it too easy, and it made it just kind of boring in a way. Like
It's an
What
action
if they-
game.
what-
that
I
is
what have
boring.
they changed?
I played it for an hour and a half, and I thought I'm not interested
It's a
in this.
zombie
What did
Massive
that? What
one.
changed it
It
so
is
much? I don't get it.
boring.
They got rid of like the timer. They got rid of
The timer was a big
It's
deal.
like it's like
you used to be against the
checkpoint
clock
systems. You don't get to
constantly.
go and save in a toilet. Like it's just
Yeah.
very like linear, shitty action game with zombies.
Yeah,
Like every other shitty linear action game with zombies.
Except I feel like Dead Rising 3, when that came out, we were amazed by how many zombies were on screen.
But Dead Rising 3 was still a good mix of like what made the franchise good and a bit of innovation. This one's like trying to reinvent
Well,
the wheel.
and now it's kind of like, look, we have these zombies on screen still, and we're like, you did that 3 years ago, and it was impressive as an Xbox One launch title. Now it's just kind of sad.
Expected?
That's
Yeah.
what you think is good. That's saddened.
Yeah.
Like you've not improved at all. You've actually gone backwards.
We are
But it
fickle,
was
aren't
still better than The Last Guardian. Oh.
Well, I haven't played that yet, but it's a PS2 game, so we're talking launch Xbox One
Shane,
versus
would you like to
PS2.
give The Last Guardian 2006 Game of the Year?
we? I'd love to. I think the 2006's Game of the Year awards has been the biggest throwback to like we've awarded 2006, 7, 9,
and 6 again.
Yeah, and 6. Oh, wow, we had 2.
When was Final Fantasy 9 released? Because that's Shane's Game of the Year for
I
sure.
think that was in the late 90s.
Well, 1990 something.
Was it?
Game
Maybe
of the
early
year.
2000.
Who
I don't
knows?
know.
Well done.
Wait, when was the PS2 launch? Ben knows these weird facts.
2000.
2000.
Well, there you go. It was a PS1 game.
2000, 2006, 2007, 2009, 2016. I think we've summarized this year and a whole bunch of others for some reason quite well.
Well, maybe we're even predicting next year's Game of the Year awards. Can we give something?
Resident Evil.
Can we? I don't.
7.
I'm not finishing this until we give something a Golden Wild Hunt of the Year award. So
yeah. the
we
most
all know what it
disappointing
is.
I
game
feel
of
like
the
our
year.
Golden Wild Hunts could be articulated in our Christmas special. Naughty or nice. Tana, would you like to?
So I'm
Further
leading the
explain.
way on this.
Oh yes, definitely.
So we're going
you
to
may
talk
as well. You're here. I mean,
We are apparently.
Yeah,
I haven't spoken much. We're going to talk about publishers that were very, very good and deserve a present from Santa,
nice.
So nice.
and were very nice and were very, very naughty and deserve a lump of coal.
Hocked through their window.
Yes,
Like a brick of coal.
in a brick.
Yeah, but
Tied
like
with a
on
note
fire
that
and burning
says-
down your shit.
Tied with a note that says you should have released Titanfall 2 in February 2017.
So that's
I
Steve's lump
suggest
of
that
coal
the
under
first
the tree.
See,
naughty
EA.
option is EA.
And so I'm actually going to say that I think they've been good overall because
It means nice. TM.
Nice.
Yeah,
Sorry.
This is your idea.
It's naughty or good with Tano, the guy who forgets things.
Okay, nice. They've been nice because. So they had Plants vs Zombies at the start of the year, which was
Yeah.
very good. They had Unravel. They
With
did
both
their
of which we forgot about, but carry on.
they
we
did
talked
their
about those.
they did their DLC plan. I think with Battlefield and Titanfall, really really good.
Titanfall
And they
was
nailed
good.
that.
Now you should say,
And-
well, come on, man.
But Titanfall, they've screwed
Oh,
up with the
heaps good.
scheduling, but it's not like they've done that to
Well.
try and screw people over. They've made a mistake. So I don't think that makes them naughty. I think that makes they've just made a mistake. And I
Titanfall
think
2
Santa will forgive them. for that.
Do you
Titanfall
know
2 and its utter cock up plus World War I things hashtag plus just like stupid
No, but I'm
mistakes.
thinking.
What was the weird thing with
I'm thinking of
Respawn and
things that
Titanfall?
I mean that marketing campaign. I'm talking about things that directly affect gamers
Do you-
and stuff like
do you
that. I think
think-
that marketing
Okay,
campaign
Do you
is
think
really
them
going to
expecting
care.
us to buy 2 shooters in 1 week is good for us?
If you want to buy both, that's a mistake. Yes, I
EA's
agree.
marketing
that
has
that's a
put the
mistake.
nail
I
in
think
the
that's bad
coffin
for
to the
them.
Titanfall
But is
franchise.
it-
Potentially the entire Titanfall franchise. If Microsoft decides to pick this up, which they should, they
They really still
they
could
might
turn it
not
around.
do it because Titanfall 2 has so underperformed because it basically had the impossible
disagree.
situation of going
I
up
disagree.
against two well-established franchises. Even though it's an amazing game that was made multi-platform, if they would have released it at a different time, Titanfall 2 would have sold leaps and bounds better than it has right now.
I
And that
still
was a
think if
massive,
they make
massive
a
problem.
third, I don't think this will be like it's not going to be great for them. The fact that 2 didn't do so well, but I think if anyone who is rich and bought 2 and played Titanfall, they're going to know it's a really really good game. And anyone who didn't because they bought COD or Battlefield is probably going to be aware that it didn't do well, but it was a great game. Like there's still the stigma, but I don't think it's going to kill it. But that's only if Microsoft will pick it up and run with it.
Titanfall's only saving grace is that if word of mouth has prompted enough people to ask for it for Christmas. Like right now,
I don't think that's gonna happen.
and their income is so divided between new release games and Christmas presents for other people and all this other stuff that they have to spend money on. Just Titanfall 2 has just not sold.
Thank God we
They
don't
can
have to
sell
worry
it-
about the Nintendo Switch, right?
Well, they can sell it for half off on as many platforms and as many retailers and as many places as they want, but like people aren't buying it. And it's a good game, and all you hear from people is it's a really good game, you should buy it, but it's still not selling.
Is it naughty or is it a mistake? This is my
It's
point.
a mistake that makes it naughty.
No, it's not naughty. Naughty is overcharging people for DLC.
What's the
This
Like
is
the
a
year
mistake.
before.
What's the
Yes.
What's the Battlefield 1 DLC cost? Like $70?
But the game's great, and it's
$70
worth
bucks
it.
for
it's
DLC.
Worth it, though. It's worth it.
$170
But is the
game.
Battlefield 1 DLC going to come out, or is it just going to like be in purgatory like the Battlefront DLC that was also
Yeah, exactly.
ridiculously
It's
priced?
here, and it's good DLC, and they've supported
It's
it.
not
One
here yet.
pack is out.
It's not
One
coming.
pack
No,
is out.
the one pack that's
Two
out is
people who-
free to play for everyone.
Yeah.
I think they've
My
been,
least
I think-
favorite rapper of
I
all
think
time.
they've
One
greatly.
pack.
I think they've improved, and I think that they deserve a nice big present from Santa this year.
I think they're
That's my opinion.
They're borderline
and I'm
naughty
going to send
or
a
nice.
message, a note to Santa directly.
Tano, if you think
Email.
all it
Please
takes
give- yeah,
all it
that's
takes to give them a big present from Santa is improvement, considering most people in the industry would consider EA the big bad guy who like everyone hates. They've only got room to improve. All they had to do was not shut down their.
Santa is very sympathetic, and he will give them a big
Thanks,
present
Santa.
on my
Well,
behalf.
Only
I'm
one.
normally on EA's side, and Titanfall 2 is a game that has an amazing single-player campaign, which wasn't even like an improvement over a shit single-player.
So
it
the
was like
games
it was
are
a,
good. They deserve
it was a
good
new
present.
single-player campaign, which was actually probably it overshadowed the multiplayer, but the multiplayer is still really, really solid, and no one cares because it just came out at the worst possible time.
I still think that's kind of a cop out though, like to be like it. You know, it has this great single player campaign. Like, well, Titanfall 1 should have had a great single player. It should have had a. You know, the
It
fact
didn't,
that
though.
it
It had
included
a
a
weird
feature.
thing that was
the
a-
didn't
fact
have
that it
any
included
single
a
player.
feature that for some reason wasn't in the first one shouldn't be in the positive column
as
either.
someone
Like,
in,
it's
in
great
a,
that
in
they
a
didn't
position
screw
of
it up.
executive power to
No, I
tell
mean, it still has
Santa to rely on a 2014 release, I think is
Look,
abhorrent.
we'll all agree on this next one.
Alright.
Naughty Bethesda for its review policy.
Very naughty.
Which we've talked about. Ad
Yes.
nauseam.
Maybe not Shane.
Yes,
Shane
no,
seems
no,
to
no,
love
no,
this
no,
policy.
I don't love it at all. Yes, I think it's naughty, but I don't
I
think
get
it's
it.
anywhere near as big a deal as the select few who it actually makes a difference to think it is.
I think it makes a big difference.
Ben being the select few.
The whole point of entertainment mediums has been the entire time you give your product to a third party to
That's not
evaluate
the
it.
point of entertainment. The point of entertainment is to entertain.
Okay, it's been part of it.
Jesus.
Prior
Damn
to
you,
that.
But
Shane!
who,
the name, mate.
but who tells you if it entertains or not? If you have money to spend on something that will
That's,
either
that's
entertain you or
subjective,
not,
though. That's
but
I don't
subtle
recall
flows
any
from
movie
that.
studio or TV studio saying we're not giving out our product beforehand to any critic. Because
Well, I'm
we
not
don't
saying
want
I agree
I
with
think
it.
that's
I just
I think
don't.
that's part of
And
it.
then,
Part of it is you-
dickily enough, giving that product to YouTubers 3 months early, or 3 weeks early, I should say.
Be different if we were
That's
YouTubers.
the
though.
whole thing about this Bethesda thing is that they're trying to make it look like everybody gets it at the same time, but they give it to YouTubers 3 weeks early. Well, that's bullshit. At least tell it exactly as it is, not
Well,
like in
that
this
is
weird
bullshit.
like.
Well, the thing is
blanket
with
of-
YouTubers is that they're
But what I'm
doing
trying
the
to-
work. They're doing the work of PR, and PR was normally the gatekeeper in terms of showing things like trailers and stuff. Whereas YouTubers now are doing their job for them, and
Yeah.
the position of the press now is to evolve or
But
die.
again, we're
That's-
not
but they're doing
moving
it, they're
away
doing it in a
from.
biased fashion. They're doing it with Bethesda trying to pretend like they're
They're
being
not critiquing it, though.
transparent.
They're not
Like,
critiquing it.
The whole
It's
way
not
that they've
biased.
done this. Yeah, they're not critiquing it. They're just
So how's it
like
biased?
spruiking it. And Bethesda's saying, we don't want anyone to get the right or the wrong idea. We want everyone to experience it at the same time, except go to YouTube
That's a
3
cop-out.
weeks early
That's a PR
and
line.
you're
Oh,
like
it is. Of
completely
course it is.
enamored
I
by
agree
it.
with that.
If
It is a
Bethesda was
cop-out.
transparent about what they were doing, this wouldn't be a problem.
But
it's a problem
again,
because they're trying to like masquerade it and being like
I still think it is only the fact that YouTubers are getting it. that only pisses off journalists,
Yeah.
like people
It
in our
only-
position.
It only pisses off
Nobody
us. It
else
doesn't-
cares.
That-
Like
that's
the game is
reality.
the target market.
And
I
we've
think-
got to
They
adapt.
should.
I'm
They
not-
should care.
I'm not saying they don't
But
care, and
why?
I'm not saying they
But why
shouldn't. They
but
definitely
why,
should.
Why should they
But I
care,
don't think
though?
it
Why?
matters that
Something you're
much.
spending $100 on, you should be able to see.
I
a
think we're too
third-party
close to
opinion,
it.
Not what the.
But no, but
producer
an
thinks of it.
opinion is an opinion relative to like seeing someone play it. You can't say that writing something down, a subjective opinion.
It doesn't have to be
which is,
written.
yeah, subjective opinion.
You're
Opinion.
the one who just said YouTubers don't critique it.
Exactly.
It should be critiqued before it's released.
Yeah, but a critique is subjective. Like, so
But half
you
the stuff
could
that
say
YouTube releases is someone opening like a box saying, "Here's the copy of the game. Ooh, thanks, Bethesda. It's the best thing in the world. I've ever played it. It's
And
so
they-
good."
and
they don't
the-
show gameplay.
And
people
more
that-
crucially, they shouldn't be paid for their opinion, which the ones from
If
Bethesda
they are,
clearly are.
they should. If
They definitely
they're
are.
offering an opinion on it, that's fair enough. If they're saying you should buy this, or disclaimer, I've been paid by Bethesda, fair enough.
If they're getting it 3
just
weeks
playing
early,
it,
they've definitely been paid
if
for their
they're
opinion.
if they're just not
I
necessarily.
think
Is that
so.
being the case for us, where we've received it 3
I
weeks
think so.
early? And
I still think this is more about like the idea of like what games journalists think of YouTubers than what Bethesda have done with their review policy.
I actually agree. I think that we've got to, rather than say, oh, Bethesda's been wrong here, we've got to say, well, this is the way it is. We've got to adapt. We've got to think of a way to put ourselves in a position where we can still provide the audience with coverage.
Exactly. Again, like
That's
I
it.
don't think
That's the
I don't
reality
think
of it.
it's the right thing to do, and I don't think it's
I
a
agree,
better
yes.
thing for gamers. I'm not saying I disagree with all the things that you're saying, Ben. I'm just thinking I think we're a bit too close to it, and I think for the most people that this is going to impact, it doesn't matter anywhere near as much as we think.
Polygon, and IGN and everyone covered it. We all covered it, but
It just
the
feels
majority,
bitchy and
a
whingy,
majority of the
honestly,
people that
like-
were complaining
I
and
don't
that
think
were
so.
supporting us were people that I think a majority of the people that were involved, the vast majority, were people that knew journalists or that in some way had an emotional attachment to those outlets in some regard. A vast majority of the people that are influenced by this probably aren't going to care that we're not getting.
Okay, so
Our stats say that anybody that looks at people look at a review before the game comes out, on release date or afterwards, just it falls off
Yeah, but that
incrementally.
doesn't say anything.
So the people that are looking to get
That's
an
because
idea
that's
of
when
the
they're published,
game-
though.
doesn't
Usually,
say anything
unless it's
about
Bethesda.
No. If you
What?
if you release a review of a game on release date or afterwards, it
Yeah.
gets viewed far less than a game before release date.
Because they've
because
already
people are
bought
looking
it
to
and they
see if
can
they
take
should
it
buy
back to eBay
Well,
if
that's
they
the
don't want
thing.
it.
Well, that's a horrible thing to say.
Why? You can make your own
Go
opinion
and
without.
make EP
Imagine if
stock
people
look
could
so
make
amazing.
their own opinion.
This segment was naughty or nice. We've
Derailed.
We've kind of covered why. Well, at least I think it's naughty.
We've
Why
totally-
you guys are trying to push the other side? Why do you think it's
I'm
a
actually
nice
not,
thing
no.
for Bethesda to? No, this is
I'm not
naughty or
trying to
nice.
push the. I'm
What's
not
the
trying to
nice
push the other
reason
side.
for changing it?
Ben just.
I'm
Ben's
not.
got-
We're not
I'm
disagreeing,
Not trying
we're just
to,
saying,
I'm
like-
not trying to push the other side.
So Bethesda's naughty. Yes.
Yes, but I'm not.
Okay,
trying-
we're done.
okay.
Naughty to games
I just wanna
journalists
correct that.
and who gives
I'm
a
not
shit to
trying
everyone
push
else.
their side. I'm just saying that they've done this, and I'm not trying to justify. I'm
That's
saying,
fine.
This is why they've done
But
it.
so basically,
we
you're
need
saying
to get over it.
You're saying we need to get over it. You're saying this is why they do it, but basically, it's good for no one but them.
Yes,
It doesn't help anyone else besides Bethesda.
But I don't think it hurts anyone that
It
much.
doesn't
so who
hurt
cares?
anyone though. I think we're overstating
does.
how many people it hurts.
Who does it help? Who does it improve things for?
No one.
But
It-
for Bethesda,
but
which is what we're talking about.
That's kind of what companies do. Companies do that all the
it's
time.
just the way it is.
Just like when they sell.
Therefore, it's
DLC
something it
packs
only
before
helps
they
them
exist.
that is bad for the rest of us. They shouldn't have done.
I think we're overstating.
Does anyone have any other?
It's bad for
companies-
games journalists. I don't think it matters for
Yeah.
gamers.
I don't
Nobody
think it
gives a
does.
shit.
I
Does
think
anyone
it
have
does.
any other companies they want to nominate for naughty or nice?
Nintendo didn't release anything this year.
Bethesda.
So indifferent.
They released a trailer with that.
From the moment we met, girl, I knew that there was something about this die.
Oh, thank you, Steve. You were so on cue and perfect. Thank you.
PlayStation released that video with 18 people sharing the bathroom. That was a good one.
PlayStation haven't done anything.
Oh
good
my
this
god, that was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life.
They also released
I'm
The
gonna
Last
say
Guardian.
straight up, I don't care if someone from
Naughty.
PlayStation is listening to this. That was the dumbest marketing campaign, and I think it's pretty
Here's some
clear.
indifferent people that share one bathroom and one PlayStation 4, but there are 18 of
I
them.
mean,
Buy them a goddamn
Wash your
second
hands.
bathroom.
what makes me laugh? You want to talk?
Or that.
The research was talking about the average family. If that's what
Of
the
18
research is
people.
about,
Don't you have
don't
16
show
brothers and
you don't-
sisters?
You don't show a family. That's an
The
outlier.
average family lives in a bus.
I mean, it's so outrageous. Oh, I
The
can't
average
believe.
colony of insects, maybe? I believe that.
Like, here's
Here's
a-
a family of 18 who are clearly like Mormons or the Amish, and we're giving them a PlayStation. Oh no, we
hey,
don't touch technology.
Steve, don't rip on the Amish. They could be a big part of... Wait a minute.
Who
no,
has 16
the
kids?
Amish aren't listening to this
Who
podcast,
has
let's be
16
honest.
There, if
children.
anyone's not reading reviews, it's the
Or
other-
listening to this
Her
podcast.
vagina must be a mess.
Wow.
Like,
Holy shit.
We've jumped the shark. I think we should.
Wow.
put that on the box.
No.
It's gapingly wide.
Wow. We're done.
We are
are done, Steve.
So Steve is.
Anything else? Is there anything else that anyone would like to say after that
There's nothing
bombshell?
that can top that.
Please join us for the next episode of the Friendly Fire Show, which will be in January, and theoretically will be us talking about the Nintendo Switch.